Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. I do apologize. We were supposed to be on at 5:30, and I had some technical difficulty, and so I do apologize for that. So Yahweh be praised. We're on now, I hope. If there's anyone listening, if you can hear me, if you would please just let me know you can hear me. You're able to hear me. I hope that I'm doing this right. Amen. So I just wanted to come to you this evening. Don't plan to hold you too long, but I do want to share some things that Yahweh Elohim has given to me for some people that are going through this particular subject that we will be teaching on this evening. I wanted to begin to talk about overcoming the spirit of grief. Yahweh has been having me on high alert concerning some things in the realm of the spirit, concerning the city, concerning the nation, concerning the state, in the realm of the spirit. And as a prophet of Yahweh Elohim, he will notify or alert the prophets as to what's happening in the realm of the spirit. He will begin to show us what's happening, what's going on, what we need to pray for, what we need to pray against, what we need to bind, what we need to loose, what spirits are in operation, what the strong man is, and so forth and so on. And so one particular area of concern that has been in my spirit for this city and for the nation as a whole has been the spirit of grief. Now, I have been noticing so many videos and posts and the news and things concerning death and people losing loved ones, whether they be family, friends, or God families or whatever. And people have been losing people. And the grief seems almost unbearable. People are commenting and their hearts are broken and their hearts are crushed and their spirits are crushed. And they ask the question, why did God take you? Or why did God let this happen? Or how am I going to go on without you? So I wanted to bring this teaching that Yahweh Elohim had placed in my spirit concerning overcoming the spirit of grief. Now, I want to start off by saying this, that Yahweh gave me a mandate a few years back in a dream, and he spoke to me very clearly in the dream, and he told me in the dream, he took me to the top of a very high mountain. I can't even tell you how far up. It didn't even look like the earth. And I was up at the top of the mountain, and all I could see was the top of the mountain, and it seemed like clouds. That's how far up I was, and I couldn't even see what was beneath me. But I heard Yahweh Elohim speak to me, and this is what he said to me. He said, lead my people back to me. That is the mandate that I have from Yahweh Elohim, and that is the mandate that I intend to keep from Yahweh Elohim. Now, I said that to say this, that as having that mandate of leading people back to the living God, Yahweh Elohim, part of the responsibility that we have as the body of Yeshua is to help bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law, the word of the Lord declares. And so there are so many people hurting I mean, broken and bruised and torn so badly that they don't know how they're going to recover from the loss of losing a loved one or someone that was very close to them. Now, let me say this. I am not a novice at this subject. I want to share with you some of the things or some of the losses that took place in my life from a child on up that caused me to be traumatized, caused me to be diagnosed with some things, and was a very, very hard time for me. It was very hard for me to get over because I was unwilling to turn it over to Yeshua. What I was willing to do was to try to live life, to try to, maybe hang with friends to get it off my mind, or do other things to get it off my mind. But none of that could or would suffice what I needed to deliver me from what I was going through, until I got to the point where I totally submitted to Yeshua HaMashiach. And when I did do that, once I did that, then I began to see deliverance from the spirit of grief. Now, I want to share with you some things that I suffered in the same vein as this grief. When I speak of grief, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just telling you something that somebody told me, something that I heard somebody say, or, somebody told me a story. No. I'm going to tell you some real life experiences that I went through, and that it in a way changed me and tore me and damaged me and shattered me so much so that Yahweh Elohim had to, only he could come and repair me from the damage that I had suffered. So at the time when I was 8 years old, I was a little girl, 8 years old. This particular day, we were celebrating a birthday party. And it was my cousins, my sister, my mother, and my cousin's mother, a couple of my cousin's mother. We were riding in a car. And this happened in Goldsboro a number of years ago. We were riding in a car. And as we were riding in the car, for some particular reason, the car began to smoke from under the hood. So my mother and a couple of my cousins' mother, what happened was when the car began to smoke, they began to panic. All of us did. And what we did was we began to, the mothers began to get us out of the car. They began to get us out of the car. We were little girls. I was 8. I had another cousin. They called me Annette. They called my other little cousin Vet. Me and her were the same age. My sister was there. Her sister was there, and a couple of more cousins. So what our parents did was they gathered us together to get us out of the car that we were in at the time, because under the hood was smoking. And I'm assuming that our mothers thought that the car was going to blow. So they began to get us out of the car. In the process of them getting us out of the car, my little cousin and I began to hold hands. My little cousin's name was Vet, and I began to hold her hand. And her and I were very, very close. We were 8 years old. And as we got out of the car to cross the street to get away from the smoking car, it happened so quick I did not see where the person came from. But a person came and struck my cousin, my little 8-year-old cousin. And of course, her body traveled a little bit, up towards the air or whatever. She fell. She did not die instantly. She died a little while afterwards. But she was 8 years old when she died. And we were holding hands. when she got hit by the motorcycle. So she was hit and the motorcycle didn't even touch me, but hit her. And so that point was a beginning point in my life for a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, dread, anxiety. I didn't want to be away from my grandmother. I didn't want to be away from my great grandmother. I didn't want to be away from my grandmother's house. I was just afraid of everything. Got to the point where I was afraid to go to school. I was so afraid to be separated. I had separation anxiety. And so I began to be afraid to go to school. And they would have to literally pick me up and put me on the bus. Now, mind you, this 8-year-old child just witnessed her cousin being hit as we're holding hands. So that particular trauma started a turning point in my life. And I was filled with a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. I was afraid a lot. I stayed alone a lot. I had a lot of dread. I had a lot of fright in my life because of what I had seen. Now you imagine me at 8 years old. My little cousin is hit. Everybody's screaming. Everybody's hollering. She's laying in the ditch. Everybody's panicking. So you can imagine as children, as a little child at 8 years old, what that was doing to me and what that was doing to my other cousins mentally. And so that started the turning point in my life. So that was when I was 8 years old. When I turned 15 years old, I was living here in Goldsboro. And my oldest daughter was 4 years old at the time. And we lived in a house, and behind our house were some apartments. And we could literally walk out of our house and turn, it was a fence, go around the fence, and we were at the apartments. Well, we had, our family's family was there. So me and my sister, as teenagers, we would go over there and hang at our family's house. This particular day, I was at home and I was on the house phone, and I remember my sister called me, and all I heard was her screaming. She's screaming. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she was screaming. I had no idea what had happened to my sister. So I picked up my daughter, 4-year-old daughter, and I placed her on my hip, and I began to run with her to our family's house that was in the apartments behind us. As I turned the fence with my daughter on my hip, I turned the fence and I look, and I run into a little boy that had been murdered. Now, he and his mother had been murdered in those apartments, unbeknownst to me, because I was at home. My sister was in the apartments, not in that particular apartment, but she was in a couple of apartments down. So she was calling me frantically to let me know what was happening. So I run through there, and the first thing I run into was the little child, 7 years old, that was dead. And I panicked. Of course, my daughter's on my hip. I run around the corner, and he's laying there dead. So you can imagine what that did to my mental. And so I did not realize that his mother was dead also. I was so afraid. I was so frightened seeing the little boy that I did not even dare go in the house to see how the mother was. And one of the neighbors that was friends of ours, he came out and he was screaming, and he said, "The mother's dead too." So here I am at 15 years old. Walk right into someone laying there murdered. They're 7 years old, and I'm seeing this. And to make matters, if they can get any worse, the murderer was not caught. So here I am at 15 years old, just ran into this child that's laying on the ground dead, that was just murdered. His mother's in a few feet away in the house murdered, and they don't know who the murderer is. And so instantly my family panicked. We left our home and we went to my grandmother's, and we stayed for I don't even know how long it was. Now, can you imagine the fear that I had of running into this murdered child, not knowing who killed the child, not knowing if they were still there, not knowing if they saw me, if they could identify me? Had no idea. That was the second trauma that hit my life. Now, this was just 7 years later, 7 years before my little cousin dies. Now, here I am at 15, and I see another child dead. And so we went to my grandmother's, and for years, they did not find the murderer. Now, they did, however, arrest someone, but had to vindicate him because he actually was not the murderer. So they went years without finding the murderer. So can you imagine the fright that I had to live with? Can you imagine the fear that I had to live with, thinking in my mind that this man saw my face, saw me, saw my child, and he can identify me, and he's going to come kill me too. He's going to come get my family. He's going to, all that was going on in my mind. So I was a nervous wreck. For many, many, many years. I couldn't rest. I was afraid he was going to come back and murder us. I just couldn't get it together. And so that was another traumatic situation that happened in my life that set me back. Now, when this trauma hits you in this type of way like that, it hits you like a ton of bricks in your soul, because here you are thinking everything is normal, everything is fine, and then bam, this person is gone, and you don't know what to do. And so your soul is almost like in shock, because this person is dead now, and you're thinking, what do I do? What do I do? How am I going to go on from this now? I don't know. The grief is so heavy that you feel like you can't hardly bear it. What do you do? How do you go on? How do you move on past this? The thing that it does to you mentally, the scars that it puts in your soul. Because now when you think about the soul consists of the mind, the will, and the emotions. So emotionally, in your mind, you are shattered. You're broken. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to say. You just don't know what to do. You don't know anything. So that was the second traumatic situation that I encountered. Now, that caused me many years of trouble in my soul. I was very reclusive. I was very nervous. I was very, I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want to be around people, a whole lot of people like that. I was very protective of myself. And so I'd rather you not say nothing to me and I wouldn't say anything to you. But now, if you said something to me and you intruded in on my privacy, we were going to fight, because I felt like you were coming in my private space and all I wanted to do was be by myself. I just wanted to be alone. I didn't want to deal with people. I didn't have the capacity at that time, the mental capacity fully to deal with people because of the trauma that I have faced. Okay, so some years went on. I married at a very young age, and I stayed in that marriage for about 12 and a half years. I got out of that marriage. I divorced that man, that particular man. I got remarried to this. He's one of the best husbands you could ever have. He was very, very good to me. He was very kind. He was very good to me. He loved my children. He loved me. We were married. We were married for 5 years. He was very good to me. New Year's morning, 2010, I get a call on New Year's morning, 2010, New Year's Day. I get a call saying to me that my husband was murdered on New Year's Day. My husband was 34 years old. So on New Year's Day, here I have to go and identify my husband. So I go to, first of all, I began to call to see where his body was. I made some calls, and I called, and they would say, well, no, we don't have him. We don't have him. He's not here. Or we did have him here, but he's not here anymore. So for a little while on New Year's Day, I'm just discombobulated because I'm wondering where my husband's body is. So finally, someone calls me back and said, yes, Miss Hobbs, we do have him. He's here. You can come down and identify him. So I did that on New Year's Day. What I thought was going to be, hey, I'm going to do something new this year. I'm going to do something new this year. I'm going to really get into this, and I'm going to really do this business, and I'm going to do that, until I got the call. And when I got the call, the only thing I remember is that someone was on the phone. They said my husband had been murdered. I think I went into shock. I remember my daughter saying, my oldest daughter said, "Ma, are you okay?" I said, uh-huh. Kind of past that, I don't remember anything after that particular conversation. And she said I was just calm. And she said to herself, something is not right that she's this calm. Well, I began all of a sudden to panic, to get in a frenzy, because in my mind, I had to go see my husband's body. I would not believe it until I laid my eyes on him for myself. So I called one of his cousins, and he said, Annette, it's him. I said, nope. I got to see him for myself. No. So I prepared myself. I go to the hospital. I remember walking down that long hallway at the hospital. It seemed like it was the longest time that I've ever walked down that hallway at the hospital. And I'm walking down the hallway, and it seemed like it was going to never end. And finally, we get to the morgue where they have him. And we get there. And I'm thinking in my head, because I've never been through this before. So I'm thinking, okay, well, we're going to have to go through this door, whatever. No. Soon as they opened the door, he was laying right there. And when I tell you, when I looked at my husband, 34 years old, laying in that morgue, I lost my mind. I just could not believe that this was happening. This couldn't have been happening. And so I began to scream. And I remember they brought a chair to me. And they put the chair right beside where he was laying. And I sat there. And I was able to just sit there. I sat there with him. I can't even tell you how long I sat there. I sat there and I sat there and I sat there. Until finally, I said, okay. So I told them what funeral home I wanted. The funeral home came. They picked him up. I remember walking behind the funeral home director. And I escorted my husband's body out of there until we got to the hearse. And he loaded him up and he put him in the hearse. And I remember he got in the car, he got in the hearse, and he drove off. And I remember I was just standing there stunned. And I just watched the hearse as it drove off, knowing that my husband was laying in there. Now, this death kind of took me over the edge. And so at this particular time, I actually went and got a therapist, went and started on medication, went and got a therapist. And I have one of the best therapists you could ever have. And she's retired now, and her and I are still the best of friends. And Yahweh gave me one of the best therapists that I could ever have. She was a Christian. And I remember the trauma of sitting there and having the thoughts that, and I'm just going to be real with you because people are dealing with this stuff. This is real life stuff here. People are dealing with this stuff, and we have to let people know the only way that you can get through this type of pain is through the Lord. You are not going to get through this type of pain by yourself. I'm going to tell you, drinking yourself is not going to do it. Smoking is not going to do it. Sleeping around is not going to do it. You're going to have the Lord to get through this. And so the mandate that the Lord gave me, he said, bring my people back to me. Bring them back to me. Because the Bible says, Yeshua says, I'm the way. I'm the truth. I'm the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. You want to know the way that you get delivered? He said, I'm the way. You want to know the truth about how you work through these things? He said, I'm the truth. I'm the life. Those things that are dead or that they seemingly died because of the trauma or the pain and sets you back so far back. He said, I'm the life. I'm the one that can come back and revive that in you. Now, I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. This is what I personally experienced, which set me back so much mentally in my mind that it even had a bearing on how I raised my children. Now, I need you to hear me good. I was so fearful of the things that I had experienced from seeing those deaths and everything, that my children, I was scared to even let them out of my sight for fear that something would happen to them. So my children, they may get together or they may talk to me and they say, well, Mom, you didn't let us do nothing. And all I can say is I used to be so scared. I would let them do stuff, but it would be within where I could see them, because I had to have that reassurance to know that they were okay. That trauma had set me back so bad that if I would have had to experience another loss like that, I don't think I could have took it. So my thing was to protect my children with everything I had in me, was to protect those children. Because I couldn't have took another loss. I don't think I could have took another hit like that mentally. And so I over covered my children, because I never wanted to get a call about something happening to my children. And so I'm here and I sympathize with the parents, and I sympathize with the people that have lost people, or lost loved ones, or spouses, or children. But I also empathize with you, because I have literally been in the place where some of y'all are. Like, I've had to sit on that front row. I've had to go on with life after the burial. I've had to go through I should have done this, I could have done that. Why didn't I tell them I loved them more? Why didn't I tell them? Why didn't I do right when I had the chance? Why didn't I say this when they were living? Why didn't I extend myself more? Why was I so mean when they were saying something? I just should have just been more nice. Why didn't I just listen to them more? Why didn't I just say I love you more before they left out the door? So what do we do now? What do you do when you don't know what to do? So I go through the funeral. I go through having to go in that door to pick out the casket. I went through that. I know what that feels like. I get in there and my pastor had to hold me up because I was about to pass out. I do not just sympathize, I empathize. I had to go there. I know what it feels like for the clothes to be brought to you and saying, is this what you want them buried in? Yeah, I experienced that. But I'm going to tell you what I also experienced. I experienced that if it had not been for Yahweh Elohim that was on my side, I would have lost my mind. I'm telling you now, Yahweh is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. He's able to do anything. Had I not gone through that, I wouldn't have had this testimony. So now that I can say without a shadow of a doubt that he'll save to the utmost. He will deliver you. Isaiah 61 begins to talk about how that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. For he hath anointed me to preach, to bind up the brokenhearted, to heal those that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of Yahweh Elohim. And you may say, let me address this. Let me address this. Because I have righteous indignation when it comes to Yahweh Elohim. I'm very protective of Yahweh. I love him with everything in me, and I'm very protective of him. And I do not want anybody to charge God foolishly. And I don't want you to get yourself in trouble with Yahweh saying, well, God did this. And what kind of loving God would do that? No. Let's get it right. Let's go back to the Bible. Let's go back to the Bible. The Bible said, he said, look, this day I've set before you life and death, blessings and cursings. Yahweh said, choose life. He said that you and your children may live. See, what we do does not only affect us, but it affects our children. We hear many times about generational curses, but there are also generational blessings. There is generational wealth. There is generational wisdom that could be passed down. So no, Yahweh did not do this. When we become at the age of accountability and we are able to know and distinguish between right and wrong, and salvation has been told to us and taught to us, and we are able to receive Yeshua or deny him, it is your choice whether you receive him or not. God had nothing to do with your choice. He gave you a free will. And he's so awesome in so much that he said, look, behold, I stand at the door. He said, I knock. He said, listen to what he said. He said, if any man hear me, first of all, you got to have an ear to hear. He said, if any man hear me and open the door, I'll come in and sup with him and he with me. So therein your free will kicks in. He said, if you hear me with the ear to hear, and then you freely open the door, that lets me know you want me to come in. You invite me in, and then I will begin to come in with you, sup with you, and you with me. He gives us a free will. Hell was not created for us. It was created for the devil and his angels. But if you choose not to follow Yeshua, and you don't choose to have anything to do with him, where else do you think you would go? So I don't want anybody to charge God foolishly or get in trouble with Yahweh Elohim saying that he did this. No, he didn't do this. He gave us a free will to make a choice, whether we accept him or whether we deny him. And the Bible says, and it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call upon the name of Yahweh Elohim shall be saved. Now that it takes us back to salvation, that whosoever shall call upon Yeshua, the one who died, bled and died for us and rose again on the third day and rose with all power in his hands. If you receive him, you receive salvation. But it also means that he keeps saving us. He saves us out of situations. He saves us out of circumstances. He saves us out of depression. He saves us out of aggression. He saves us out of anger and bitterness. Because yes, you get bitter. Yes, you can get angry. When your loved one has been taken from you. I've been there. When your loved one has been taken from you at the hands of another person, and they are still not arrested, still not charged, still not sentenced, still not convicted. And it's as though they didn't even kill the person, like their life meant nothing. So yes, you can get bitter. Yes, you can be angry. If you're not careful, you will deal with a root of bitterness. Because how dare this person take my family's life? And then ride around like nothing's wrong. Or just go on with life as norm. Like nothing happened. I went through that. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I faced. When my husband died, there were 5 months and 10 days of silence that I had to watch, that the person was not arrested for killing him. Was I angry? Yes, you can believe I was. Was I mad? Yes, I was mad. Did I want justice? Real bad. I was angry. And in those times, that's when you have to be real with the Lord. You got to be really real with the Lord. Because see, now the Bible says he won't even let a liar tarry in his sight. So don't even come to Yahweh trying to lie. Well, Lord, I'm not mad. I'm just, no, if you're mad, say you're mad. I'm angry, Yahweh. I'm angry. I'm hurting. I want justice. And I need you to bring me justice. So I was really real with Yahweh. And I prayed a prayer. And I'll never forget this prayer. I will never forget this prayer. I prayed this prayer. And I asked Yahweh for 4 things. I said, Yahweh, let them arrest him. Let them sentence him. And I said, let them arrest him. Let them charge him. Let them sentence him. And let them convict him. It was not long after I prayed the prayer. Not long, not many days hence after I prayed the prayer. And I asked Yahweh for those 4 things. That I called, left a message for the investigator, and he called me back and said, Miss Hobbs, we picked him up. Does it bring the person back? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But it does bring some sort of relief to know that they have to stand and be accountable for what they did. They have to be accountable for what they did. I think so many times, what if things would have been different? Or I've even thought, Yahweh, I really had to go through that to really understand, to really experience that, to really know what people are going through. Yeah, it took that. It took that. It took that. And in the process of me going through that, now I can understand what another person that's grieving feels like. I can understand that pain. I understand that loss. I understand that eternal, that separation, that you will never see them on this side again. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you, just as honest as I can be. That almost took me out. The fact that you cannot see them again on this side, I couldn't fathom it. I just couldn't, my mind couldn't comprehend it. You mean to tell me I won't never see them again over here? You will never see them again over here. That was one of the worst things that I had to face. Did I have to go on medication? Yes, I did. Did I have to go in therapy? Yes, I did. Did I continue going to church? Yes, I did. Did Yahweh deliver me? Yes, he did. But it took a process. There was a process. I got on medication to help me, to help with the imbalance, because I was imbalanced. I'm just going to be, I was off. I was off. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. The regret almost killed me. I felt guilty because I was still living and they were gone. I just couldn't understand how I was still here and they were gone. I couldn't understand it. But I was grateful that Yahweh spared my life. But the pain of the ones that have to be left behind sometimes seems unbearable. And so I went through therapy. I remember going to therapy, and I remember sitting on that couch, and I remember crying for a whole hour straight. And the therapist she would look at me, and she would say a few words, and the rest of it I would cry, and I would cry, and I would cry. And then you have this spirit called memory recall. And this demonic spirit, what this demonic spirit does is it keeps playing that thing back over in your head like a movie, just like it just happened. It could have happened 6 months ago, but he will keep playing it back to you like it just happened a few minutes ago. That's how clear the memories can be, and how and it takes the power of Yahweh to come in to deliver you from that. It takes Yahweh to do that. You cannot do it on your own. I remember sitting in the therapist's office and could not fathom the fact that my husband's body was in a cold ground. I couldn't take it. And I told her, I said, I can't handle that. It's raining, it's cold, and the devil just wanted to keep replaying that. Well, you know he's out there in that cold. He in that cold ground. What you gonna do now? He's sitting out there in that cold ground. Oh, that light that took me out. That light that took me out. The pain was unbearable. The pain was unbearable. The pain was unbearable. For you to be with somebody, spend time with them, you get to know them, y'all live together, y'all grow up together, you eat together, sleep together, play together, run together, fight together, rejoice together, everything, and then they're just gone. What do? And whether anybody has noticed it or not, the spirit of grief has been so rampant in Goldsboro and Wayne County, it is ridiculous. And as prophets of the living God, we have to shamar the county, the city, the realm of the spirit. And what shamar means, it means to go in the realm of the spirit and to watch, to see from afar what Yahweh gonna show me. To see what's happening in the realm of the spirit. And I see that there are hurting mothers, hurting fathers, there are hurting siblings, there are hurting grandmothers and grandfathers, there are friends that have been friends their whole lives, and they just get taken. And they're not there anymore. What do? You have to go to the great physician, the only one that can heal you. Because I'm telling you now, there is a condition called the broken heart syndrome. It's called Takotsubo myocardiopathy. It's called the broken heart syndrome. And what this condition does is it affects the left ventricle of the heart. It almost looks like a heart attack, right? But this condition happens when a person, one of the reasons, if a person loses a loved one, the sudden death of a loved one or a friend will hit you so hard that you will feel it in your natural body. I remember I was in so much pain one day. My heart was so broken one day that I felt the pain in my natural heart. I felt my literal heart hurting. And now the seriousness of this thing called the broken heart syndrome. You know, we used to hear when we were growing up, people say, well, they died of a broken heart. It is possible. It's possible. It's called the broken heart syndrome. And with this particular condition, it can happen at the sudden death of a person. It can happen if they are been in a major accident, divorce, adultery, anything that is so powerful that it would take your soul and shake it. Shake your soul. It was so traumatic when it happened and you got the news that it shook you. What do you do when you get the news? What do you do when you get the death notification? When you get the call or you get the knock at your door? Are you so-and-so and so-and-so? I'm sorry to tell you, but your child has been murdered. Your husband has been murdered. Your wife has been murdered. They're gone. What do you do? This thing can hit you so hard that it will shatter your soul. Now, I remind you again, the soul is the mind, the will, and the emotions. And this grief can hit you so hard in your soul that you don't even have the will to live anymore. And I know it is so. I've been there, done it. I experienced it. I experienced it. I was so heavy in my soul from the deaths that I had suffered until I didn't even feel like I could live anymore. I didn't even feel like I could go on. The shame that I endured, God, I was so ashamed at some things that had happened and some things that were said and things that were done. My soul was already shattered from the death. And then the cruelty of people. People can be cruel with their words, with gossip, not even knowing the real story. I was so ashamed. My head hung in shame. I didn't even see any point in going no further. I saw no point in going no further. I was so down, so low. My husband's funeral was at the same church that he and I attended. And so after the funeral, I had to go back into the same church that he and I were members of. I had to go right back into that church and try to pretend like I didn't remember his casket laying there. The pain almost took me out of here. I was trying to sing praises to Yahweh, and my mind was going back to the casket laying across the front of the church. I was so depressed. I was so depressed. I was so depressed. I didn't know if I was going left, right, or frontward. And I hid. I stayed in the house. I didn't want to see people. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to be bothered. And so what the enemy did is he had my mind so bad that it kept me in seclusion. And as I stayed in seclusion, and because my mind was drifting so bad, he began to put little stuff in my mind. Because see, at that point, I was so depressed, I won't even reading like I was supposed to stay. I won't reading the Bible like I was supposed to. I won't praying like I was supposed to, because I didn't know if I was going to coming. And so the more that the devil secluded me, and he kept me away from people that could have held my hands up like Moses and did for Moses, like Aaron and did for Moses. The Bible says that as long as Moses' hands were lifted up, the battle was won. But when his hands began to go down, they lost the battle. But Aaron and got on both sides and held his hands up. But as long as you're not around anybody to hold you up, the Bible said we're supposed to bear one another's burdens. Somebody in the realm of the spirit ought to be picking you up in the realm of the spirit, whether they know you personally or not. Sometimes we ought to be so keen in the spirit, because we have a relationship with Yahweh so much so that he will begin to put people on our hearts and our minds and in our spirits to begin to pray for them and intercede on behalf of them. I have felt the burdens, the grief on people so heavy that it felt like the person was wearing a coat. That's how thick the grief was. And Yahweh let me feel it so that I could begin to pray and pray them through those hard times. What do? You have to come to the one that has the answers. And that is Yeshua. Because I'm going to tell you, after you get through drinking, when you wake up in the morning or that night or whatever, the problem's still going to be there. After you smoke all the marijuana, when the high's gone, you're still going to have the problem. And there is no need in us going out, running from bed to bed to bed, trying to find relief, because only thing you're doing is creating soul ties. The only thing you're doing is creating spirit marriages and keep getting all these husbands and these wives in the realm of the spirit. The word of the living Yahweh Elohim is what you need. Every answer that you need is in his word. But you have to make a decision, a conscious decision, to let him come in and help you. Now, I'm telling you, in the realm of the spirit, we should be carrying one another. We should be interceding and praying for one another. We ought to be doing better than what we've been doing. If we don't see the condition of this city and how the spirit of grief has run through this city, and it has mothers and fathers wailing and crying for their children, people wailing and crying for their husbands and wives and grandchildren. If we don't see what's happening in the realm of the spirit, what are we doing? Now, as a prophet, Now I'm talking about somebody that walks in the office. Now I'm not talking about somebody that knows just prophesies. I'm talking about somebody that walks in the literal office of a prophet. Go study. If you're called to the office, then you need to be studying what you're called to do. And if you begin to read in the Bible, Yahweh had prophets in different regions. Elijah was in a particular region. Elisha was in a particular region. Samuel was in a particular region. The prophets, Ezekiel and Isaiah, they were in particular regions. And Yahweh had them in that particular region, and he had them covering the spirit realm in that particular region. So Yahweh will place prophets in particular regions, not just to stand there, but to stand there to see what's coming in, to warn the people, to pray against it, to intercept it before it gets up there. The Bible declared that Elisha, the prophet, was in a particular region. Now, the body has different regions. You have parts of the brain that have, they're called regions of the brain. You have parts of the human body that are different regions. So when they get ready to do surgery, they say, we're going to do surgery in the thoracic region or the lumbar region or whatever particular region it's in. That is where that physician or that surgeon is going to do that surgery. And as it is in the natural, so it is in the spirit. And so when that particular specialist is called in that particular part of that region to go in and make things right. So Yahweh has prophets in particular regions, in a city, state, town, nation, island, continent, over particular areas and regions. And so what the areas of our minds can be off. There are parts of your brain, parts of our brain that hold memories, the subconscious mind that will hold memories. They hold memories that you don't even think that it has in there, but it has that memory in there. And what it does is it holds that particular memory in your subconscious mind. And what makes you aware of it, that it was there, is because something will happen to cause you to remember that memory. A certain smell will come across your nose. Oh, that reminded me of something. Oh my God. Or a particular color will make you think about something. Or a particular outfit or a particular time or something will bring that memory back. Ooh. Oh Lord, I forgot about that. Oh my God. That sure did happen. So because the prophet is set over regions, prophets can be over regions in people's minds to help protect and pray. The Bible said that Elisha the prophet was in a particular region, and the Bible said that the Moabites tried everything they could to destroy that country. When the prophet was there, said they couldn't do nothing with them. You know why? Because Yahweh had established a prophet in that particular region, and the Bible said that Yahweh Elohim would notify the prophet and would tell them even what they were doing in their bed chamber. What they were doing in the bed chamber. What they were doing in the privacy of their bedroom. What they were contemplating. what they were thinking, what they were thinking about doing, how they were thinking about setting you up, how they were thinking about this was going to happen. And what Yahweh would do, he would notify the prophet. This is what they're planning. This is what they're thinking about doing. Now, this is what I need you to do. I need you to cut this off. I need you to begin to pray in the realm of the spirit. I need you to bind this. I need you to loose this. I need you to cancel that assignment over that person's mind. That particular part of their mind that holds those memories. Look, I need you to cover that part of their mind. Cover their mind. Pray for their mind in that area, because that's the part where they're weak right there. Cover them where they're weak. This is what the enemy is doing. He's giving them thoughts. He's giving them thoughts to think about killing themselves because they can't handle the pain of losing who they lost. Now, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go pray. I need you to pray. And you bind and rebuke that spirit of death. Yahweh will notify a prophet. Not just those that prophesy, but I'm talking about those that walk in the literal office. Because the gift of prophecy, Yahweh can use a child to prophesy. That does not make you a prophet that walks in the office. Yahweh can use a child to prophesy, and they can prophesy one time and you may never hear from them again. Does not make them a prophet. But I'm talking about those that walk in the literal office. The prophets that are in this region, where the prophets at? Where are the Shamar prophets at? Where are the people that have their ear to Yahweh's mouth? Because now that the Bible says now look, we are the mouthpiece of Yahweh. The prophet said, he said, look, let me go and stand up and see what Yahweh gonna say. The seer prophet, the Roi prophet, the Nabi prophet that can see in the realm of the spirit and say, look, this city is suffering. The grief is so strong in this city that if Yahweh don't intercede, it won't be nothing done. And we better pray and ask for mercy for this city. Can the real prophets please stand up? That somebody that's looking to see and to hear what Yahweh's saying. Where's the seer at? That can see in the realm of the spirit. That's shamaring in the spirit realm round Goldsboro and Wayne County. Don't you see the spirit of grief? Don't you see the spirit of murder and death? That can pray against this stuff. That can go to Yahweh Elohim. I'm talking about somebody that has a relationship with Yahweh and can begin to ask him to have mercy. I'm telling you, when Lot was in Sodom and Gomorrah, the Bible said this righteous man, he was vexed with the sins of the city. But Yahweh, the Bible said that Yahweh remembered Lot. I'm telling you, people are hurting. People are dying on the inside. Grief is eating like a canker their hearts, tearing their hearts to pieces. What do? We better go back to Yahweh Elohim and repent and do our first works and ask him to heal us. Make us anew. He said, a new heart will I give you, In one particular interpretation, I think it is the Amplified version, it says that he will give you a heart that will respond to him. People are hurting. What's the solution? You can't keep saying that, oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm going to get some help. I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm okay. I'll be all right. And your mind is wandering. Where the intercessors? Where are the intercessors? Where are the prayer warriors? What are we picking up in the realm of the spirit? We're not picking anything up about our brothers and sisters. That, wait a minute now, hold on. Hold on here. Yahweh, what's going with them? What's going on with them in the realm of the spirit? What's happening? We ought to be asking Yahweh, what's happening in the realm of the spirit? Show me what I need to know. Don't you see that if the spirit of grief, pain, hurt, deep hurt, if Yahweh Elohim don't do it, it will not be done. And it's going to take him to go into these people's hearts, their minds, and their bodies. Because the mental state of some of us is so bad that it is affecting our physical bodies. People are having chest pains. They think they're having heart attacks. Their blood pressure running up. They swelling up, their feet swelling up, their legs swelling up. They so stressed out, they don't know what is going on. You have to go to the only one that can heal you. The Bible said that Yeshua, the Bible said, he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrow. He did it all on the cross. He bore it all for us. But you have to let him in to do the work in you. You have to be willing. You got to be willing to let him do the work. There is nothing, and I'm about to end. Some people do not have the same amount of faith. Some people's faith levels are not in the same place. They're just not. And we may as well be honest with it. And there are some people that are not in the place right now where their faith is built up enough that they can trust the Lord that he will deliver them. They have little faith right now. And what we need to do is we need to go in and we need to help our brothers and sisters. The Bible said if there's any that is sick among you, let them call for the elders of the church. Where the elders at? Where the elders at? Everybody does not have the same level of faith. And it takes time to grow in Yahweh. You have to grow in grace. The Bible says grow in grace. Everybody does not have the same level of faith. And sometimes you need somebody to help bring you along. You may even call them an accountability partner, a spiritual accountability partner, somebody that's strong in the faith that will come and help you through until you're able to stand on your own 2 feet by yourself. Somebody that's going to keep praying for you. Somebody that's going to make you accountable. Have you read your word today? Have you prayed today? Are you trusting Yahweh? Somebody that's going to stand there until you get strong enough, until your leg muscles get strong enough that you can begin to stand up and move on your own. Everybody does not have that faith right now. But we have to begin to undergird one another. Because those that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. And whether we know it or not, grief is sickness. Your soul is sick from grief. When you lose somebody that you loved and that loved you, and that separation of not having them there no more, it will make your soul sick if you're not careful. It'll make you sick. And so if we that are strong we ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. We should have a relationship with Yahweh so much so that when they are going through, Yahweh will notify us. And you don't have to be a prophet. I'm not glorifying a prophet. I just speak on prophets because I walk in the office of a prophet, and that's what Yahweh's called me to do. So I tend to talk on that a bit because a lot because that's what he's called me to do. But that is not glorified over any other gift, because every gift is necessary. But we should be in tune with the living God so much so that we ought to know when something's not wrong with is not right with each other. We ought to know when something's wrong. We should know each other in the spirit by now, that we know when something's not right. We should know by the spirit that something is not right. Let me go check on them. You don't know where their mind is that day. You don't know if they're having suicidal thoughts or not. If it's in your spirit to call, to go by there, go do whatever Yahweh tells you to do. You don't know where they are. I'm not going to tell you that I did not have that thought. When my husband died, by the time that third trauma came, that I seen death right up in my face like that. I was bad off. And I had to go back to the church where my husband laid at, his casket laid. And I remember I was sitting in church that day and I was trying to get it together and I couldn't. And I'm telling you, my mind was so boggled down with grief. And I remember the enemy was doing a job on me. And he said, get up and go write your 3 kids a letter. Tell them you love them and just go home and take them pills. And I was such an introvert. I'm so introverted, right? That somebody would have thought I was just home. They just hadn't talked to me for 3 days if they didn't know me by the spirit. They would have just thought I was home, just just in the house like I normally do because I'm a homebody. If you hadn't known in the spirit that something was wrong with me, you wouldn't have thought nothing was wrong with me. So had I done that at that time, I probably would have been dead for I don't know how long before they found me. Because people thought she just in there. That's what she always do. She always go in the room and shut the door. Not knowing where my mental state was. Not knowing the grief like that took me out of here. Not knowing that I couldn't say I love you to him again. I couldn't hear him laugh again like he had that beautiful laugh. I couldn't hear him laugh again. I couldn't hear him call me boo no more. It is necessary, absolutely necessary, that we come to Yeshua and get the help that we need at this time. Thank you so much. I didn't mean to run this long, but thank you for you all tuning in. And if you need to contact me, if you guys need my number, you can message me. I'll give you my personal number. If you want to talk, if you need prayer, if you want to pray, just contact me for anything that you need, okay? And I will be getting back with the next part in this series, probably sometime this week. We'll go into the next phase of this series, Overcoming the spirit of grief. Amen. Thank you.